Good evening, everyone. It's Carl back with NFTV Scoring the Players. Tonight I'm joined by Matt and Sam. How are we, lads?
Stressed.
Yeah, that sums it up perfectly. It's another great escape from us tonight.
Yeah, it's another one of those evenings or days where you just don't know how to feel, do you? It's catch-22. We're through to the next round, which is great, but the manner that it's happened again is absolutely frustrating. I'm sure everyone will probably feel the same. Obviously, we want to be positive, but I feel like it's tough with the tactics that are in play tonight, and obviously the manner that the results come. So obviously tonight, scoring the players, I'll start with Mr. Mark Gillespie, and I'll move over to yourself initially, Sam. I'm sure there'll be some critiques from you, mate.
I mean, yeah, it's not his finest hour. Didn't really even look that convincing in the penalty shootout, did he? I mean, he's got a kind of fluky one that almost kind of spun in as well. There was, the world nearly fell out my arse during that penalty shootout on a number of occasions. But unfortunately for Mark Gillespie, it's a shame because he's done ever so well so far. But what can you say about their goal? It was absolutely shocking. They had no effort on. I mean, all right, it was pissing down with rain and it could have skid off the surface and this, that and the other, but the keeper should be stopping that. There was no venom on that shot whatsoever. It was pretty tame.
I thought we almost passed it, to be fair, mate.
Well, yeah. What can you say? It's just these things happen, but I mean, some people were claiming that Gillespie should be ahead of Darlow. I don't think that argument will be rearing its head for quite some time, given our last two performances, because the goalkeeping ones have been pivotal in both games. So it's a shame for Gillespie. He'll come again probably in the next round, but it's one he'll want to quickly forget.
Absolutely. Moving on to yourself, Matt, I'll give you Javi Manquillo, mate. How do you think he played this evening?
It's a shame because I do like Manquillo and he's had a good run of games, but tonight he was very disappointing. Didn't really offer much defensively, and when he did get forward, his delivery was really, really poor. Obviously, we had Andy Carroll on in the first half as a target to hit. I don't think he hit him once in the box when he did get forwards, and he screwed a couple of balls over the touchline. So for me, I'm probably going to give him a 3 out of 10 as well. I think the whole team played poorly, which is probably why a lot of these ratings are going to be on the negative side, but he really offered nothing going forward, and while he wasn't at fault directly for the goal, it was just a poor defensive display all around.
Yeah, his crossing was exceptionally poor as well. Exceptionally poor. Just kind of, there was a number of opportunities. Kind of reminded me a bit of Yedlin last season. You get in these great positions, and then you just completely screw up the cross. It was so frustrating.
He's I felt like Jacob Murphy needed more from him as well, because obviously I think we'll all agree Murphy had a relatively decent game, to be fair to him, and I just don't think he offered enough going forward. And we all talked about Jamal Lewis overlapping Maximin. I just didn't see enough of that from Manquillo tonight, and obviously when he did, like you said, his crossing was poor. So yeah, I'd agree with that. Moving over to myself, Emil Krafth. Never been a huge fan. Obviously, playing out of position again tonight. I'll probably give him a 4 max. I don't know if anyone would agree or disagree with that. Might be being a bit too positive for him there. Just don't think he looks comfortable.
He wasn't he the one that reacted a bit too slowly for
the goal.
I think I think maybe a little bit generous there, but he's obviously playing out of position. But for me, he's had his chance. He shouldn't be getting in this team as a right back, never mind a centre back.
No, I agree.
His reactions were incredibly poor. He should have cleared that ball into row Z, or even got a little bit more on it to take it away from the striker. And then he didn't close down the shot once he lost the ball for the goal. He was rightfully subbed off. But just a poor,
absolutely. Poor I think I'm just being generous, just because I think I almost feel for the lad. So yeah, feel free to bash me in the comments for that one. That's fine. Moving back over to yourself, Sam. Fernandez.
Captain for the night as well, which was kind of nice to see. he didn't really do anything wrong, to my mind. But then again, it was just a poor display all round from the middle of the park and on that right-hand side of defence, at least. So that's why I've gone for middle of the road 5. I was pleased to see him given the captain's armband, a bit more of a vocal presence than Jonjo Shelvey. So I think that was a good call. But he's just the Iron Man, isn't he? He's gonna, with this defensive crisis. I mean, it was nice to see Schar come back, but he's gonna be knackered by the time Burnley comes. Well, by the time the Burnley game finishes on Saturday, but we'll have the international break, so it's fine.
So yeah, 5 out of 10. That's fair enough. Back to yourself, Matt. I'll give you Jamal Lewis, mate. Yeah. Jamal Lewis.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Obviously, he's come in with a fairly high reputation, and he played really well against West Ham. Had a bit of a shocker against Brighton. And today it just reminds me of when Almiron first joined us. He's got a lot of pace, got a lot of positivity going forwards, but he just looks like a headless chicken when he's like a rabbit caught in the headlights when he gets forward, because he's turning back on himself. He's Cruyff turning. He's trying to get past the defender, and he seems very one-footed. But he didn't do anything wrong. He was just very middle of the road. He did put a few dangerous balls into the box towards the end of the game, creating a bit of trouble. So I'd probably give him a 5 out of 10 because he didn't do anything particularly wrong. But again, he didn't really do anything particularly right. I think he struggled to connect with Fraser on the left-hand side as much as he did with saint-maximin in the first game.
No, I think that's fair enough.
Do you? I think that's harsh. I thought he did all right. Yeah, I thought he played okay. His crossing into the box actually wasn't that bad. He looked a hell of a lot more threatening down that left-hand side than Manquillo did on the right.
Yeah, he did.
I think there's a lot more to come from Lewis, but I think he was one of the few that would have got away with any sort of credit tonight had the result not gone our way, which it probably should have done in the end. But I like Lewis, but
yeah, he didn't stop running, which I'll give him credit for. Like, he never looked lazy at all. He was always running that, even towards the 90-minute mark. He was running that channel, trying to put pressure on their right back. So it was a decent performance, but didn't really stand out for me.
Fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. Moving it over to myself, I will take Jonjo Shelvey. This one will probably be debated. Obviously, he scored a goal. It was a great finish, to be fair to him, but he's pissed me off for the last 3 weeks massively. Like, he really has. He's absolutely infuriated me. Obviously, I probably looked a bit of a clown in the WhatsApp group giving him stick because he's gone and scored, which is great. But I'm going to give him a 6 because he scored. If he hadn't have scored, I'd have given him a 3. I thought he was terrible tonight, personally. And I'll stand by what I said. I think he, although I do rate him highly as a player, I'm starting to think more and more that when Hayden's not in the side, he goes missing because he's not capable of doing that dogged work that he needs to do as a central midfielder. He's great looking for passes. His passing hasn't been that great over the last few weeks. I think he misses Hayden massively. So I'm giving him a 6 just because he scored. Other than that, I thought it was terrible. Personally, that's fine if no one agrees.
He's dropped for me on Saturday. I think he should go with Hendrick and Hayden in the middle.
Yeah,
I said in the group, I'd have dragged him at half-time, personally.
Yeah. I mean, even with the goal, I think he'd been extremely generous there. Like, I was talking to the guys I was watching the match with, and before the goal, I was considering what I might give him on rating the players, and it was genuinely hovering around a 1 or a 0.5.
Yeah.
He's a senior player in that team that everyone else is going to look to for leadership, and he's getting wound up by a scrappy little kid that's kicking him in the centre of the park. He's taking an early booking for kicking out. He should be leading the team in creativity and keeping his head against. Again, at the end of the day, it's a League Two team. No disrespect to Newport, but we should be battering them. And in the end, like with the stats, we did batter them. But he did score and rescue the game for us at the end. But he needs to be far more responsible in the middle of that pitch. And like you say, I think he should be dropped on Saturday. Yeah,
I absolutely agree with you. So look, I expect again criticism on that. I'm literally just giving it in for the goal, and I'm fine with you guys saying I'm being generous because I am. If I could say what I really wanted to say, it would be full of expletives, but I won't bother. So I'll move over to Sean Longstaff, to you, Sam.
Kind of equally as puzzling. He wasn't as bad as Jonjo Shelvey in the main, but he's not getting a higher score than Jonjo Shelvey. Sean frustrates me at times because he's been played out of position again, because I think we'd all agree that he's a number 10 now, at least. But his shooting, especially from distance, and he wasn't on free kicks, which is good, because that really boiled my piss last season when he took free kicks, because he's absolutely horrendous at them. But his shooting from range is horrendous as well. Didn't do anything particularly wrong. It just wasn't a strong night in the middle of the park. As Matt said, Jonjo was bullied by little terriers of League Two, and Sean kind of did okay. Brought the ball out from the back a good number of times. There was a moment in the second half where he didn't read a through ball from someone, and he would have been out in the clear. I can't remember who the through ball was from now. It might have been Fernandez or Schar when he came on, actually. But it just wasn't a great night. So Sean's getting middle of the road, and we need to see him back in the number 10, really. Yeah,
that's fair enough, mate. Back to yourself, Matt. Jacob Murphy, how do you feel he got on tonight?
It's a really tricky one, because I don't know whether to rate the player on his ability to get into space and create chances, or his ability to finish those chances off. Because in terms of creativity, he was arguably our best player going forward tonight. He had a few shots on goal. He was always looking to beat his man, drop his shoulder, get the shot away. But the end product was just so poor. And the one chance that stood out for me was when the ball was whipped in from the left-hand side. I can't remember if it was Fraser or Lewis. And he's in the 6-yard box, and he doesn't volley it, he doesn't head it, he chests it towards goal. And there's just no natural instinct to finish there for me. And it's a difficult one, because he had another promising night, like we saw against Morecambe, when he was fantastic. But it was probably just a 6 out of 10 for me tonight. He needs to get that clinical side to his game where he can either put the ball away himself or feed it into someone that can. He was really disappointing in the final third for me tonight.
Fair enough, mate. Would you, just playing devil's advocate, would you say that, especially in the first half, with some of the crosses that he did whip into the box, obviously didn't do him justice because of the people that were on the pitch? Andy Carroll's not going to move anywhere in the 18-yard box. Because, to be fair, he did put a few good balls in across the keeper, and there was no one there. But I agree with his finishing. It was pretty woeful tonight. But yeah, I do feel for that. I don't know what your thoughts are in terms of not having anyone on the end of his crosses. He didn't really do anything wrong with him in that regard.
No, I do feel a bit sorry for him, because he needs a good run in the team to kind of get the chemistry with his teammates. There was obviously, like you say, in the first half with Andy Carroll, they didn't really link up. There was one moment in the second half where Murphy got the ball on the right side of the box and kind of dragged a cross shot across the box, and Wilson had to go at him for not pulling it back. And you feel like if they played a little bit more together, they'd have that chemistry to know that where each other are going to be. Instead of just flashing an optimistic ball across the box, he knows exactly where the striker's going to be to put that ball away. So I do feel a little bit for him, but whether that's down to the player or the manager, it's such a...
Oh yeah, this is it, isn't it, mate? This is it. Moving on to myself, Miggy, another disappointing performance. Lacklustre passing again. Obviously, he's always putting himself about, but I thought it was poor tonight. It didn't offer much going forward at all, and I'm going to give him a 3, to be honest.
I think that's fair enough. Actually, I thought he was largely invisible for the main part of the game. The only time you knew he was even on the pitch was when he got fouled.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Yeah, which is frustrating, because obviously we're all willing him back in the side. He's had a couple of chances now, and he's not really put himself on the line, has he? I think you probably both agree with that.
Yeah. Two kind of almost invisible performances from him in 2 games. Obviously, Spurs, he was played out of position. He was in the number 10 role tonight against a League Two team, so he should have got into the game more.
Absolutely. Back over to yourself, Sam. Ryan Fraser, how do you feel he got on tonight, mate?
90 minutes in the tank for him, so that's a positive.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's fully fit yet. Certainly looked to me like he wasn't fully fit. He did okay. He did middle of the road okay, 5 out of 10. It was frustrating in the first half because it was a mess in that attacking third. A real mess. Matt has the luxury of scoring Andy Carroll, but Fraser did fine. I thought he worked reasonably well with Lewis, considering that's the first time they played together. There's more to come from him. Again, he's another one. There's more to come from him. It's minutes in the tank for him. That's his first 90 minutes since February, March, something like that. So, eventually, when these players are fully fit, we will have a decent front four of Fraser, Miggy, ASM, and then Wilson up top. That looks like a nice, solid attack in Newcastle United, front four. But until then, he's not quite firing. So he could have done better tonight, that's for sure.
I agree, mate. I agree. So middle of the road for Fraser, 5 out of 10. Over to yourself, Matt. Andy Carroll.
Oh, joy.
Sorry, mate.
It's fine. I mean, another poor game from him, unfortunately. I keep trying to defend him to my mates that are slagging him off, but when he has a game like this, it's beggars belief. Like, yes, he's playing in a thankless task up top, like one man up top by himself. There's not really much support around him, but there's only so much blame you can land with a manager when you've got to start looking at the player himself. The main thing for me tonight wasn't necessarily what he was doing wrong when the ball was lumped up to him. Yes, he had a bit of a dodgy touch. He was chesting a few balls down that were getting maybe 10, 15 yards away from him. He could have done better there. But the couple, I think it was 2 shots in about 5 minutes that Jacob Murphy had off the right wing, cutting in off the right wing. He had a couple shots and the keeper parried them out into the 6-yard box. And that's where you want the striker to be. And that's where you want maybe Callum Wilson. But Andy Carroll, he's played in this game long enough to know that he needs to be in that area to pounce on any loose balls, even put the defence under pressure. Don't let them get the easy clearance. And that's what he did wrong for me. So, I think 2 out of 10 for me tonight, but maybe that's generous. I don't know what you lads think.
I would agree, mate.
I think that's fair. There's a couple of times you made great points there about the balls in from and the shots parried from Jacob Murphy. I just thought, bloody hell, if that was Dwight Gale.
Yeah.
100%. He's Poach or Wilson and whatnot, but
they're getting on on the end of at least one of them, aren't they? And Carroll hasn't even attempted to make any sort of.
I think he's at the stage now where he kind of needs someone up top with him because he was looking for a flick on.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing the ball down and holding it up like Rondon was so good. I'm sorry to go back to reference Rondon because don't want to get emotional, but we all want him back. But it's one of them. He's looking for a flick on, so maybe that's why Bruce went 4-4-2 at West Ham and Brighton, because the role up top for Carroll clearly doesn't suit him, even though excuses and time aren't really on Carroll's side anymore.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. To myself, Joelinton. I'm going to go 5 out of 10 here. Honestly, I feel for him missing the penalty, to be honest. I don't think it's an overly... Do you not?
No. Terrible penalty. Do you know what I thought when that happened? When we were doing... Was it the group reaction? Or I think it was the group reaction after the Spurs game. Brandon said, just imagine what we'd be like if it was Joelinton strolling up to take that penalty instead of Callum Wilson on Sunday, and I said we'd all be hiding behind the sofa. Absolutely. And that's why. Don't get me wrong, I had no confidence that was going to go in. I was willing for it to, but I do feel for him because I don't think he had a bad game when he come on. To be honest, I thought he was quite lively. I thought he's picked up well off the back of the Spurs game and done what I'd expect him to do against a League Two side, other than score. So, I just felt sorry for him that he didn't score that penalty. But I agree, it was a terrible one. But he played okay in the game, though, just for balance, because I feel like I've been harsh on him there. We looked a lot more of a threat when he came on and when Carroll went off. So I'm happy to give him a 5. Yeah, I think apart from the penalty miss, arguably our best player in that second half. He changed the game. You might disagree, but he was offering something that Carroll didn't. He was coming short, getting the ball to feet, beating their midfield in strength and pace, and kind of offering that outlet pass from our back line to transition into attack. And while he wasn't necessarily the most effective in the final third, he was offering that transition for us, which we were lacking in the first half. I agree. So he looks like a good little bench player for us if he's not going to get in the starting lineup. I agree. It's something that myself and Sam, I've mentioned it to Sam in the last week or the Spurs game, that it's something that
I think we've all known that he's there inside him, and we're just starting to slowly see it now. Maybe he's had an arm around him from Carroll and Callum Wilson finally. I don't know, but yeah, I hope he does continue in this vein because I do want him to do well. And if he continue performing like that, I'm happy for him to start breaking into the side. To be honest, back over to yourself, Sam. Callum Wilson, how do you feel he got on when he come on?
When he came on, you were just praying he was given one chance because you feel like that's all he'd need. And again, when him and Joelinton came on, we looked so much more threatening towards the latter stages of the game. Ran the channels well, a kind of what you'd call a kind of typical Callum Wilson performance without the goal. We were just praying and begging for that one chance that he took away. For instance, that Jacob Murphy chest to the goalkeeper, if that was Callum Wilson, boom, that's a goal every time. It's just a shame one of them didn't fall to him, but I like Callum Wilson. He's a proper striker, and if he'd have come on sooner, or if he'd have started, I'm fully confident that then no need for penalties or any kind of nervous energy tonight. But it all worked out well in the end, at least. Absolutely.
Moving over to yourself, Matt, with the final sub of the evening, Fabian Schar. Good to see him back at least. How do you feel he got on, mate?
It was nice to see him get some minutes, and I've got to be honest, when I saw that sub coming on, I threw my hands up in the air and was cutting out Steve Bruce. So I was like, what the hell, what's he thinking? We're 1-0 down and we need to push on and get a goal. But to be honest, he was exactly what we needed. He gave Fernandez a bit of security to bring the ball out from the back, not necessarily hoof a ball up to the strikers. We saw a couple of times where the centre-backs would dribble into the midfield and then offer a pass out to the wing. And Fernandez had that confidence to go forwards with Schar at the back. And Schar did it a couple of times as well. So it was a good sub, and it's nice to see him get some minutes. So I think a 6 out of 10 is probably fair. Didn't really make any mistakes, but didn't change the game necessarily. Just a solid couple of minutes from him. Nice to get it under his belt.
Fair enough. Who have we scored the highest tonight? Don't tell me I've scored Jonjo the highest.
No, there's been a few sixes. No one's got a 7. There's been a few 6s, and Jonjo is one of them.
Yeah.
So I think probably all in all, I mean, Jacob Murphy would have been my man of the match.
Yeah, same.
But you just kind of work on his finishing a little bit. But he had the only sort of attacking intent consistently throughout the whole of the game, didn't he?
Yeah,
absolutely. So moving on to the final one, I'll go across all three of us. Steve Bruce, I'm going to give him 2. Sam?
So you rate him lower than what you did on Sunday?
Yeah. Genuinely.
Okay.
I've got to the point almost where I don't want to be that person. I'm almost on the bandwagon of being, I want Steve Bruce out tomorrow. Tomorrow.
You could certainly build a case for it, couldn't you? I mean, if it wasn't for a goalkeeper error, we would have won 1-0 tonight, to play devil's advocate. Played the 4-2-3-1 to play devil's advocate. That team that he put out should have had enough about them to deal with Newport. I don't know. Could his changes have come sooner? Maybe you would have made a change or two at half time. I don't know. It is a tricky one because you can't say he's done well tonight. I'm going to wait and see what Matt scored before I.
Well, maybe I'm a pessimist, but I'm going to go in and around with Carl. I'm going to lump it. I think it was a 3 from Steve Bruce tonight. I think, yes, he's named a strong lineup, but anyone can do that. I think it takes a good manager to get it tactically right. We looked adamant that we were going to play down the wings and try and flood the wings, and it just didn't work for 88 minutes whenever we got the goal. And we tried to play long balls into Andy Carroll. He clearly wasn't winning the battle. Then we brought Joelinton and Callum Wilson on to do exactly the same, even though that's neither of their strengths, winning aerials in the box. We didn't look to flood the midfield with Shelvey and Longstaff and even Almiron as the number 10. He looked devoid of ideas. We didn't change the way we played. We played the same for 90 minutes. And like you say, yes, we would have won 1-0, but I want to see a manager adapting to the game and saying, right, this is the weakness, this is how we exploit it. Not, we're going to just break them down over 90 minutes and hope we nick a goal at the last minute to get an equaliser and send it to pens. think he's very poor. And if we lose today, and I was saying this to a couple of my mates before, if we lost today and we're in the bottom 3, I think he's gone by Christmas. Like, it's really poor start to the season for Steve Bruce.
Yeah, I'm not going to play devil's advocate now. I'm going to give my honest opinion. I think 3's fair. Let's certainly on a level with Sunday at Spurs. I agree with a lot of what you said there, Matt. I still don't think he knows. He's been in charge for well over a year now. I don't think he knows what system he wants to play. I don't think he knows what his strongest 11, what he wants to do. It's just absolutely baffling, and I think he's the luckiest manager alive at the moment, because we got away with it last season, and we've already rode our luck like a stallion so far this season as well. So time will start to run out if these performances continue. But on the face of it, we're in the Carabao Cup quarter-final and we're at mid-table in the Premier League, and we've just drawn away at Spurs. So it just goes to show that, results don't tell the whole story, because we've got away with one tonight again because we didn't deserve to win at all. Didn't deserve to win. Newport were the better team in the main. I know we cranked it up towards the end, but it took way too long to get going. And that first 35 minutes was absolutely appalling, horrendous. They just started where they left off at Spurs on Sunday. And Burnley on Saturday is a huge game, because these are the games that we need to start picking up 3 points from, because we weren't doing that last season. And can you honestly say, from these performances compared to last season, are we going to be beating Man United at home, Chelsea at home? Are we going to be picking up them sort of wins that we did last season? I can't see it personally. So the Burnleys at home, the Brightons at home should have been one as well, but they're the games that we need to be taking maximum points from. So
you've got as well, mate. Like because obviously I'm surrounded by Brummies, and I'm sure you're not far off yourself. But the stark contrast that Aston Villa have had in terms of a start compared to where they finished last season and what they're doing, in comparison to us, is just it's mind-boggling. And the only thing I can put that down to is Steve Bruce and his tactics. Personally, Dean Smith's clearly had a look at what's going on his side. He's bought where he's need to buy. The playing completely different football. He's realised what wasn't working last year, and on the face of it, it looks like they're going to have at least if not a good season, at least a better season than we are. The way things are going,
they will.
And I think
they will.
If mediocrity was 10, mate, Steve Bruce still gets a 2 from me. That's where I'm at.
There's just no identity about the side at the moment, is there? You can't see what they're trying to do. There's just no impetus, no creativity. It's just all seems so stifled in that final third.
So yes, positive, we're through to the quarter-final, which is great. Another frustrating evening though, as Sam said, results don't really tell the full story. As you can see, we're trying to be positive, but it's hard.
We're in the
we're through to the next round. Get in, quarter-final. When's the draw? Is it tonight or tomorrow?
I think it's tomorrow.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, tomorrow night after the Liverpool game.
But hopefully we can all, Steve Bruce can shut us up with a result and get us through to the semi-finals, because I'll happily be as fickle as I need to be week by week. I don't mind. But it's been Carl, Matt and Sam from NFTV for Scoring the Players. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.